Meaning of culture and heritage. To study the topic of culture and heritage, one should start with fundamental understanding of the topic. In general, the word culture is used in two senses. First, in traditional sense, it means artistic creation and intellectual achievement. Under this, culture expressed in the form of communities, literature, architecture, classical music, classical dance, and painting. In this way, both culture and heritage are closely assimilated to each other. Secondly, anthropologists use the word culture in another sense. Anthropological culture deals with the study of rituals and customs, practice, perspectives of the common people, their mentality, and their tradition. In fact, the focus of anthropologists does not on culture superiority, but they give emphasis on the study of mentality of those people who are marginal in the society. But presently, anthropologists have played a major role in popularizing the term culture. A study under the influence of anthropologists, a separate branch, cultural studies, has developed. The cultural study is the study of mentality of the people who is on the margin of the society. Cultural studies have impacted every branch of the social science, such as history, geography, political science, and international relations, etc. As far as civil services examination concerned, its curriculum covers both the periphery of the culture, that is elite culture, and culture related to the common people. Tandav dance, Nalanda and Taxila University, literary achievements of Krishna Dev Rai's periods. All these points belong to the elite culture. On the other hand, Mesolithic painting is associated with the general culture. It should be known to the candidate that in the era of growing democracy, like other humanities subjects, culture was also democratized. Naturally, the importance of folk instead of classical is encouraged, such as folk music, folk dance, terracotta figures, etc. Moving ahead, what is the relation between culture and civilization? Determine the relationship between civilization and culture is in itself a complex question because both of these have been defined in many ways. Firstly, in the context of an Indian society, culture refers to a certain way of living. But when this way of living expanded across a large region and came to be accepted as a norm, it was referred to as civilization. For example, several regional cultures existed prior to the Harappa civilization, but the persistence of one of them goes beyond its territory and an advanced lifestyle was created in a large area. This was known as civilization. In other words, civilization is considered to be the highest status of culture. Additionally, some scholars also tried to link the development of ancient civilization to the urbanization and the knowledge of art of script and development of art of writing. In this sense, civilization became symbol of highest order of materialistic life. But Abid Hussain believed that the element of culture reached in the higher level of material life only when there is a material life is accompanied by material pleasures with the means to achieve high moral values. But when such a life sacrifices some of the moral principles, then it turns against the culture. Then, in another sense, an attempt has been made to link civilization and culture with external shell and the intrinsic quality, respectively. In other words, if civilization is the outer shell, the culture is internal quality. We can understand this with the example of flower. The petals of a flower is considered as civilization, and the fragrance of flower contemplates as culture. In comparison, intrinsic quality is more significant than the extrinsic traits. Due to more emphasis on external quality, the internal quality is diverted from its virtue. Therefore, many scholars consider the development of both as contradictory to each other. In fact, a German scholar Spengler says that with the development of civilization follows recognizable decline in culture. Moving forward, at present, there is relatively less discussion about culture. Sorry, at present, there is relatively less discussion about civilization while culture is being discussed excessively. What is the reason behind this? As we know that when civilization spread, so in this process many other cultures get suppressed. In fact, when a culture reached its zenith, it takes a form of civilization and within itself it assimilates many other culture. Thus, a type of elitism entered in civilization. Therefore, it connected with the dominant section of the society, while the Dalit and backward sections of the society can't reach to this level. But as democratization progressed, the upliftment of Dalit and backward classes started. In this order, the scholars and intellectuals drew attention to those forgotten cultures and then began to rediscover it. This is the reason that's why at present emphasis on culture is more than civilization. Next topic: what is meant by classical art? In which scenario art gains classical standards? The art and literature reached at that stage of development when it starts to influence the art and literature in the upcoming age. This means that they have been established as a standard and this standard is called as classical. In Indian society, there was some period when art adopted classical standards. For example, the art evolved from Maurya period to the Gupta period. Therefore, in Gupta period, art assumed the classical standard. Similarly, Pallava art till the Chola period accepted the classical advancement. Lastly, architecture of Sultanate period acquired the classical standard by the Mughal period. Moving forward, what is the relation between culture and religion? There are many aspects of culture, such as literature, art, life perspectives, food habits, lifestyle, and religion. As we know, the religion is one of the aspects of culture, but religion has two segments, that is philosophy and ritual. However, the philosophy of all the religious sect is concerned with human welfare. In this way, through fundamental thinking, all religious sects enjoys proximity with each other. But with time, religious cults have developed such a system of rituals that conflict with basic human values, and in this scenario, it increases the possibility of clashes between one religious sect to another religious sect. Then, in this situation, religion becomes an opponent to culture. In such a situation, religion drew the boundaries of India and Pakistan, working in opposition to the syncretic culture of India. Can culture also have regressive element which need to transform? This is yet another topic. Can culture also have a regressive element which need to transform? Over a period of time, two types of flaws started coming to the surface within the culture. Firstly, culture word is already complex in itself, and gradually some such customs and traditions begin to incorporated in it. For example, some people acknowledged the social evils like child marriage, sati system in the marriage of religion and considered religion as a part of culture. Later in India, in the 19th century, various intellectuals and reformers from Raja Ram Mohan Roy to Swami Vivekananda stood against social evils and successfully removed each evils from culture and religion. Secondly, value is relative to society. When human society develops, some human behavior and practices considered to be part of culture becomes irrelevant, and then there is a need to bring changes in them. Moving ahead, can culture also be misused? Like history, misuse of culture is also possible. In the name of protecting the vested interest of society, religion and culture promoted socio religious evils. For example, when Raja Ram Mohan Roy opposed the evil practice of sati, then conservatives like Radhakant Dev considered it as an attack on religion and culture. In the same way, at present, when demand raised to end the practices like triple talaq and nikah halala, then the Muslim Orthodox elements try to preserve these practices in the name of religion and Islamic culture. You can also comment in the comment box if you want any video regarding triple talaq and nikah halala. Coming back to the topic. In the same way, at present, when demand raised to end the practices like triple talaq and nikah halala, then the Muslim Orthodox elements try to preserve these practices in the name of religion and Islamic culture. That's why there is a need to make proper cultural policy in India. For the development of country, the proper formulation of policies is required in the field of science, defense, foreign, etc. Similarly, effective cultural policy is also necessary. Why do we study art and literature? This is another topic which we're gonna look upon. Why do we study art and culture? While studying the art and literature of any community, it explicitly expresses the life perspectives, thoughts, and aesthetic sense. For the past hundreds and thousands of years, our ancestors' thinking and aesthetic sense have been expressed. If we study this, then naturally we will get the opportunity to understand the gradual development of thinking and aesthetic sense of our forefathers. Then we can evaluate ourselves where we are standing from the point of view of intellectual and moral development. While going through history, we will try to understand the gradual development of political, economic, and social structure. In the same way, while studying the art and literature, we will try to understand development of life interest and aesthetic sense. Moving forward, why Indian culture is considered as an example of polyphonic culture? Polyphonic means bahulwadi, diversified. Why Indian culture is considered diversified culture, polyphonic culture? Indian culture developed in such a way that it became pluralistic. During ancient time, we can observe the harmony between Aryan culture and non-Aryan culture. Similarly, a synthesis can be evident between the cultures of the north and south. In Aryan culture, there was primacy of yajana, while bhakti, incarnation, and idol worship prevailed in non Aryan culture. Later, Hindu religion or Hindu culture developed with the assimilation of elements of Aryan and non Aryan culture. Similarly, any religious cult, Brahmin, Buddhist, and Jain, developed in North India, it must have moved towards the south. Advait philosophy of Upanishad developed in the north was refined and developed by Shankaracharya in south. Under Ashoka, cave architecture developed and it attained perfection with the construction of Pallava cave temple. Bhakti and Sufi movement of medieval period expressed as Gange Yamuni culture. Similarly, a synthetic of Islamic and Indian features can be seen in the realm of architecture throughout the Sultanate and Mughal periods, which gave rise to a new style. This harmony is also be seen in the fields of painting and music, etc. Due to these reasons, the form of Indian culture is polyphonic or pluralistic. Moving ahead, how can the understanding of culture and heritage be useful in the studies of other subjects? While studying the culture, the candidate should adopt an interdisciplinary approach. With this approach, comprehension of other topics will also advance in addition to cultural understanding. Its interconnectivity with various social sciences can be understood through following ways. Culture emerged as an important component in the conduct of foreign policy. Culture plays a vital role for the growth of soft power of any nation. At present, culture diplomacy became an important component of foreign policy. On this basis, India, by expanding the neighboring region and eager to reach to the countries of Southeast Asia. Similarly, Project Mosam aims to reconnect and re-establish communications between countries of the Indian Ocean world, which would lead to an enhanced understanding of cultural values and concerns. Also, it emphasizes on understanding national cultures and in their regional maritime milieu. The success of India as a nation is the best illustration of the value of culture understanding in nation building, and this success can be attributed to our constitution makers that they understand India's diversity, and on the basis they provide protection to the linguistic and religious minorities. The difference becomes clear if we compare India with the failure of neighboring countries in South Asia, such as Pakistan, Nepal, and Sri Lanka. In terms of economic success, even effective cultural policy can also play an important role. Yeah, we can see example of Manipur these days. Raghuram Rajan long ago made it clear that religious conservatism and economic development cannot go hand in hand. Lastly, culture also proves to be an important factor for the internal security of the country. At present, religious bigotry is a big threat to Indian internal security, and it has taken the form of terrorism. An appropriate cultural policy can be helpful to regulate it in addition to the use of police and military force. In this regard, India's approach has been pragmatic. To a great extent, India respected, its diverse character. So yeah, this is it for today. In the next session, in the next video, we will discuss some of the previous year questions from art and culture section.